Hey, what's up everyone and welcome back. My name is Sean and welcome to another clothing brand success video. Now today's video is going to pretty much completely go over the idea of pretty much what it's like to start a clothing company or from the mindset or the mentality of being a creative, passionate designer in a sense. And before I get into the actual video, I just want to remind you guys that this channel and this video is going to be sponsored by my clothing company, which is called Reveille Clothing, which I'm wearing on my hoodie here, which is one of the designs that we have. And just a reminder that we, if you want to check us out, it's going to be in the link in the description below, as well as a discount code if you want to check out and support my brand. So again, today's video is all about the design, passion-oriented style of making a clothing company for that reason. Now, this reason is why I started my own clothing company, essentially, and I wanted to make a deeper video to dive into it and to give you guys, if you're brand new to this kind of style, or if you're brand new to, or if you're about to start, if you want to begin a clothing company, for this reason, it's kind of like I'm going to share with you my journey, and I want you guys to share yours in the comments if you would like to, and just kind of like, why do it for that reason, and just kind of dive deeper into that kind of thing. So, for me, for example, so my company is called, again, Reveille Clothing, and I started my clothing company just last year, to be honest with you. So the reason why I did mine is because essentially I pretty much wore the same brands for a good 20-25 years straight. It was the same 4 or 5 brands forever. And when I was like, I'm in my mid-30s now, to give you guys an idea. And when I was in my early 20s, a lot of the designs that were coming out of these brands, I'm not going to mention the names of them, but a lot of the designs that they were coming out with, I wasn't really a fan of anymore. I still love the companies to this day, and I always will. And I love the brands and just overall their visions. But after a while, like a lot of stuff that they were releasing wasn't really my kind of thing anymore. Not that I grew out of it. I just thought it was more kind of it was becoming like a stale design kind of thing, or it just wasn't my thing for a long time for a lot of the brands I was wearing. And I've always been the creative, passionate, driven, kind of like designer kind of type, where I would always kind of dive into my Adobe software and just mess with stuff, mess with fonts, mess with graphics, design graphics, digitally draw stuff. I've never been a hand drawer personally, like that kind of thing, but it was always one of those things where I wanted to just kind of like, I just didn't see much out there for what I was wearing, and I wanted to always put my own creativity on something that thought I could do better. And essentially, not that they were doing bad designs, but it was just becoming, again, stale in my opinion. So that's why I wanted to do my own thing for a while, and it took a long time. I mean, I started mine last year in 2021, and the part of the reason behind that is because I could never get over the hump of actually, for one thing, creating a brand name, which I'll get into in another video as well, and I could just never really like finalize a design that I was really happy with. Like, it was always like, it's like being a musician in a sense, because I'm also a producer and a DJ, or it's like your first song is always the hardest to complete, because you just never know if it's good enough, and you're just scared to put it out in the world. It's one of those things. So when I was starting my brand, it was one of those things where I was like, everything that I was designing I had tons of ideas, but I could never finalize them. And when you're brand new like that, and you're just designing the whole design in the design process, and you haven't put anything out there, whether it sells or not is a whole different thing. But just doing the actual designs and being happy with it and being stoked about it, not just happy but stoked, and being like, I want just like considering, like, hoping that somebody out there in the world will, just even one person will like it enough to buy it and actually spend money on it, is a whole scary another aspect of it too. So I wanted to make this video to really inspire you guys to keep pushing forward and just to keep on working at it, because that's one thing that I've realized in my own experience, my journey, is that it's all about it's a work. It's a very, very work-oriented thing. As much as it is fun and it's passionate and it's creative and it makes you feel great when you do finish something, that's one of the hardest things to do, is to finish that first design. And for me, like, mine was horrible. My first design was literally just like, it was as soon as I discovered and finally like settled on this brand name, I was so happy with it that I literally just, my first design was literally just the font and a cool color with a black background. And thinking back now, it's funny because when I made the font initially, and when I made that design, like, when that happened, it was before I had anything. I didn't have any other designs. I had no website. Nothing was done yet. But I knew I had to make a design first, and that was the first one. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world at the time. Like, I was like, oh my god! And then I think I was just stoked about it because I finally had a brand name. I was proud of a brand name that I could support and get behind personally on a passionate level. and I was just happy with that part of it. So I ended up using that actual same design for like my Facebook feed, like my Instagram photo, all that. Like I put it everywhere that I could because I was so stoked about it just to get it done. And that's the hardest thing I think is that with a lot of people who are, you know, passionate and creative like that, like I am, and they want to do a clothing brand for that reason, that can be the hardest thing. Is that there's one thing to be designing for fun and just designing just to be creative and have that outlet. That's one thing, but then trying to put it into a outlet of where you make money off of it and sell it is a much different, scary idea. And I just want to really, you know, tell you guys and push you guys, if you're in that place in your brand's kind of existence of where you're just scared to put something out, you know, I can tell you this much: there's a lot worse than having it. It can fail, obviously, but like you won't know until you do it. And that's one thing that I've learned myself from my own brain, is that like as I've been designing things, like I had this idea actually in the first month that I did my own brand, when I actually had kind of the website like up and like kind of not open yet, but it was up at least. My goal for myself, which I want to inspire you guys to do too, is to make a design every day. It doesn't matter if it's good or terrible or horrible or amazing or the best thing ever. I want to challenge you guys to make one new design every day and finish it. That was what I did myself. I pushed myself, like as soon as I had the brand name and I knew the idea of what I was aiming for a brand, that's what I did. I pushed myself. And it wasn't even like a direct challenge on myself. I was like, okay, well, it'd be cool if I could make a new design every single day. That way I have a ton of designs to choose from, because my original idea was to essentially take like 45, 50 designs and whittle it down into like 5 or 10, because all the research that I've done was like always telling me to pretty much make a really basic collection and put that out as the first collection. And so what I did was that I kind of partially did that, but it was more of like, you know, it was more of the idea of like making as much as I can. It's like, because I make music too, so it was all about like, you know, when you make music for a lot of artists, they'll make like 50 songs and whittle it down into like 10 or 12 for an album. So for me, it was the same idea for music, but I applied to my design work. So I pretty much literally like just kind of like indirectly put the idea in my head of like, okay, well, what if I did a new design every day? I'll work on it every night, which I did without even thinking about it. I ended up just like wanting to work on it just on a mental note. So I kind of every day just kind of started to go into my Adobe software, and I just started to either like mess with fonts, mess with different, you know, and it's also just a good thing to do that in a way of like, you know, learning your software more, because the more you use it, and this sounds so obvious, but it's really true, but the more that you learn your software and know it and learn it and just mess with different tools in there, then you're going to get to learn it better. So like at that time, I didn't really know, like I had done graphic design in all the Adobe software years ago in my early 20s, and that was it. Like I kind of stopped for a long time, and then last year I decided to really like push myself to make a brand, because I was like, why not? In this day and age of where everything is done through an app, it's probably possible, and that's why I started doing it, was to really just push myself to get to that point. So when I got past that, and when I got over that whole entire mentality of like, okay, it's possible now to do it, then I pushed myself to do that. So really the whole idea is to, you know, push yourself into a thing where you design one brand new design every single day. And it can't be, I don't want it to be like, you know, just like a different color of a font. Like really do a new design every day. Like just mess with different brushes, draw something different if you're a drawer, do that kind of thing. Because that's what I did in my first month, was I just made a ton of different designs, and I actually ended up going back to a bunch of them and keeping like half of them for some actual designs for shirts and hoodies and things like that. So that's my challenge for you guys now, is to really go like do as much as you can, because that's gonna expand your horizons on just, you know, your software that you're using, and it's gonna really push your ideas further than what you probably thought was possible originally. If you're into like a different style of design, rather like where you do like cut and sew, same thing. So my challenge for you guys on this video is to really just make as many designs as you can in 1 month. And you don't have to use any of them, but I think it's a great idea just to kind of like get your mind going, because what will happen eventually, at least for me it did, was where I became like to where I wasn't even like the things that were challenging me in the first like 2 weeks became so second nature, as far as like layering stuff, or like just like kind of like cutting graphics over fonts to make it look different, and learning how to, you know, kind of like just, you know, pretty much make a different style that I never thought was possible for me like so early on. So that's my challenge for you guys from this video, is to make as many designs as you can, as much as you can, and also make ones that take forever too. Like I remember one of my first designs that took a while. It was like a checkerboard design that I haven't even released yet to my own clothing brand, because I love it too much. I don't want to put it out there yet. where it took me like a solid, probably like a solid week to actually do it, where I literally had to like make layers and layers and layers of this it turned out to be a really rad checkerboard pattern. And I haven't used it yet because I'm waiting for it for the next kind of season, that kind of thing. But it just took a long time, but it still ended up being really cool. So let me know in the comments what you guys have run into as far as just like design work and just kind of how your passion and your creativity has either like helped you or hurt you at all, that kind of thing. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.